Welcome in, Jake West, Director of Team FYN Sports, joined by DJ Kaufman, RJ Casey, and Chris Mathis from WJRB, WJUL. This is the North Georgia edition of the Friday Night Pressbox presented by Team FYN Sports. Mathis, we'll start with you. You cover a broad array of teams with WJRB, WJUL, as we do at Team FYN Sports. Walk us through, we like to try to give some shine to Towns County. Walk us through what happened last week with Towns County and what their schedule looks like this week and what's going to happen for the Indians on Friday night.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Towns County got shocked on Friday night at home. They lost 63-36 against a team that I thought was winnable. It was against Greene County. I thought that Towns County would go into that game looking for their first region victory of the year. Instead, they fall to 0-3 in 6 single A Region 8. And that was a tough loss there for Towns County. I thought it wasn't necessarily a must win, but it was one of those wins where you're like, okay, you get back on track after losing 2 straight region games. However, they did not. I'm not exactly sure. I was unable to get up with Coach Rockmore this week. I'm not exactly sure as to how that game played out. Obviously, their offense was there. They scored 36 points, but I'm not sure if fatigue got to them or if they had a couple of turnovers that led to touchdowns. Either way, a bit of a shocker there in Towns County as they fell short 63-36. And they started off the year 4-1, Jake. They looked really good. I know that was non-region play. And there's still a very good Towns County program. For Towns County, they look great. But they're suffering here in region play. 0-3 now, following that big-time shocker at home against Greene County. And they have a must-win game this week at Social Circle. I think it's a must-win. Right now, Social's in 4th, Towns County in 6th. And they will have one more game next week against Washington Wilkes. But looking here, I would like to say that they just need to take care of their bread, if you will. As Marshawn Lynch might say, they need to worry about their own this week, pick up a big win. Don't worry about, what could happen next week. It's all about play-by-play, get a win, worry about your own, and beat Social this week, and then worry about the next game and, hey, how can we squeeze into the playoffs? The Indians currently 4-4. Again, after starting off 4-1, they've lost every region game since, and they've got the talent to pick up a win or maybe even 2. Well, they got a tough matchup the following week against number 1 Washington Wilkes, a 7-win program. But Towns County, just worry about this week against Social. You are on the road. Social Circle, not a very good team in region play either, so there is a shot. The Redskins are coming off of a big win, though. They beat Commerce 28-19, which in my opinion, I didn't expect that. So Commerce, a pretty decent football program. Social Circle has to feel good coming off of that win, and they want to solidify that number 4 spot or maybe creep up to number 3 with a victory over Towns County at home this Friday night, of course. But we'll see how that thing plans out. And I believe in Coach Jason Rockmore and what they have going there at Towns County. And they've got a roster. I mean, Jake, they've got Colin Crowder, Kyle Oakes, to name a few, a great quarterback, too, Connor Chastain. They've got pieces. I just think that, having guys that are real key players playing both sides of the ball and have to be playmakers not on just offense but also defense too, may be wearing down this Indian football team late in the season.
Yeah, is there any obviously probably not with last week's loss, but is there any way they can squeak into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think there is a way. I think that they'd have to win this week, obviously. Number 1, worry about yourselves, beat Social this week, and then next week you play against Washington Wilkes, a 7-win program. I'm not saying you have to beat Washington Wilkes, but I think if you do beat Washington Wilkes and one other team, let's say Greene County falls short against Social or something like that, there's a shot. I don't think it's probable, but there is a possibility that Towns County finds themselves in the playoffs. And I think that Jason Rockmore trying to figure things out there as well. As I reached out to Coach Rock and no response regarding that, I think they're trying to figure out, hey, what needs to happen. And he's the guy that worries about the next game. It's all about the next play. So I don't blame him for not, looking into the future. Just worry about this week and see how things play out for Towns County.
Well, moving on, a team that is probably really worried about this week, Union County. They host Haven Friday night, correct?
Yeah, they do. Union County, a 2-5 football program. Both wins are region victories, so that does bode well. Surprisingly, Union County in 3rd right now in region play with just 2 wins. They'll host a very good Rabun County football program, 8-win Rabun County Wildcat football team. Everybody knows what they have to offer. Now, Union County, they look good early on in this month. I mean, they strung together 2 victories against Riverside, then followed up with a win against Banks at home.
Well, I know the Murphy score was lopsided, but that was really just in like a quarter and a half of play that kind of got out of hand.
Yeah, and I think Murphy was the better team that night from start to finish. I think Murphy could have been up by 21 at half, but they had some costly penalties early. So they're in the late second, early third. You thought, okay, Union has a shot. And then, middle to late third quarter, Murphy pulled away against Union. And the score was a lot bigger than what majority of the game really showed. But Union County has a big matchup. And I thought that 2 weeks ago that Union had a shot to compete with Albert. It was 52-29. They lost in Alberton. Not a pretty game. However, the one thing that got me is I don't think Union just came out and gave the game away. They just didn't make one big play on defense. They didn't have one big cash-in play on offense either. No interceptions, no fumbles, which has been the MO for Union County this year. If they can avoid that offensively, they've won games. It's just a matter of, when they do cough up the football. And the only mistake they had was a kickoff return where a backup return man, Eli Pugh, is not a backup on defense, but had to step in for Jensen Goebel, who tore his ACL and MCL a few weeks back. At return man, tried to make a play on the ball at the 1-yard line. And instead of letting the ball go into the end zone for a touchback, he tries to grab it out of the air right at the 1-yard line, catches it at the 1, returns the ball up to the 14, 15-yard line, gets clobbered, loses the ball, and then 2 plays later, Albert scores. That was a dagger, or that led to a big scoring deficit. The Blue Devils led over the Panthers. But what really killed it was Kyler Robbins, the Panthers senior kicker, crossed over the ball on the kickoff to start off the third quarter, which pushes back the kickoff 5 yards. It was an offsides. And Kyler kicked the ball to the 5-yard line. The return man took it 95 yards to the house.
Wow.
That was the dagger. So, I mean, you'd like to think that if it goes into the end zone for a touchback, they don't score right away on the first play of the second half. But that offsides really hurt Union. And again, I don't think Union played terrible in that game. No turnovers other than the special teams miscue. But they just didn't have that big offensive play. Offense looked flat. Linebacking core there at Albert, very quick. And, I think maybe DJ's seen a little bit of Albert or heard about Albert. But very athletic football team, to say the least.
Yeah, you obviously we're in 2A, so DJ, you cover 2A also. Moving on to this week, Chris, what is for Union to have a chance? And both teams have to play the game, so both teams have a chance going into it. What does Union have to do? And obviously, everything's going to have to go right for them to beat the best team in 2A football in the state of Georgia. But what do they have to do in order to hang tough with them? I mean, if they play 2 good quarters of football and it's close at halftime, who knows what can happen?
Yeah, I mean, Jake, honestly, you're right. Just like with college football, anybody can win on any given Saturday. I mean, truthfully, and a lot of high school guys don't realize that. I'm not saying that Union County goes out here and even hangs within 21 points of Rabun, but there is a possibility that they do, or that they do keep it close. Number one, take care of your responsibility. If your goal is to block number 3, you block number 3. Don't worry about what the guy with the ball is doing. Don't look back at the scoreboard at any time. Just focus on your job. It's all about, as Towns County's head coach Jason Rockmore would say, alignment and assignment. If you're in the right spot with your alignment and you're taking care of your assignment, making a key block, or, hey, come off a bubble screen, be ready, catch this ball, get 4 yards. That's all we ask. Get 4 yards. You get 4 yards 3 times on one drive. You got a first down and then some. So number one, alignment assignment for Union County. Number 2, I think that take care of the football. It's so cliche. This is going to be a very cliche response here, Jake. But truthfully, against a team like Rabun and a young team like Union, take care of the football. Have special teams put them back, inside their own 25. Get touchbacks with Kyler Robbins, which I'm not going to tell a guy like Kyler Robbins this, but this is a big game for him. There's going to be scouts at this game, and he's a good kicker. His first-year varsity kicker for Union County, wearing number 82. You saw him against Murphy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
RJ saw him against Pickens too. But, okay, so those are the two: alignment, assignment, take care of the football. And number 3, don't look at the scoreboard, play for your brother, play for your teammate. Because there are a handful of guys that would like to play at the next level. And if you come out here, even if you guys are hanging within 14, 21 points, or you're just getting blown out by 35, there are scouts, there are eyes. And if you're able to do your job, if you're able to make 1 or 2 splash plays, no matter what the score is, you got guys looking at you. And if I'm a player in this game, that's how I look at it. Hey, I want to make a play. Give me the ball. I want to make a play. And number four, this is my 4th and final way to keep it close or potentially beat Raven County. Don't worry about Gunner. You know what Gunner Stockton, a Georgia commit, is going to do. You know that he's going to run the ball. You know that he's going to extend plays with his legs. He can be on the run and throw the ball down the field 40 yards. It doesn't matter where he has to place it. He really can put the ball out of the reach of the DB. That's what happened last year against Union. It was, I'm not saying Union had any shot to win that game, but it looked like the Union defensive backs, they were in the right spot. Just Gunner placed it pinpoint over their head. And what can you do? You're not used to seeing these guys that can fling the rock and say, hey, let me dance around in the backfield behind the pocket. I mean, really, there's no other high school quarterback in our area, and that's no shot to other quarterbacks. That's just how good this guy is. That can say, hey, I want to roll out to the right, take a half a second, and I want to put it 3 feet above that DB's head right into the breadbasket where my guy can make a play on the ball. And you know what he's going to do. I'm worried about the 2 running backs at Rabin, 2 very good scat backs, both of which had great years last year against Union, great performances. And then they have 2 transfers at Rabin. O'Brien, a tight end, big-time player. And then who was that? Jaden Gibson.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's from Jefferson. Is that right?
Yeah.
He's from no, I thought he's from Dawson. Isn't he from Dawson?
Oh, yeah. He is from Dawson. Yeah.
He's from Dawson. That's right. And, so I'm looking at a measuring stick for this game. So Union played Elbert 2 weeks ago in Elberton, got blown out 52-29. Union comes off of a bye, so they head into this game healthy. If I'm Union, I would rather have – you can't get this, but I would rather have the bye after Raven. You go into Raven game not thinking there's much of a shot. Now you leave the Raven game, and how healthy are you? So I'm curious about that. But the measuring stick is Raven played against Elbert, and I got the score here. Bear with me. 45-7 last week. Raven beat Elbert, which Union lost to 52-29 2 weeks ago. Gunner Stockton had 266 yards, 3 touchdown passes, 2 rushing touchdowns. Jaden Gibson had a big day, 11 catches at the high school level, 113 yards and a touchdown. And then the tight end, O'Brien, Baxley O'Brien, had 4 catches, 63 yards and a touchdown. I mean, you just got to worry about your own in this game if you're Union County. Show up, play for your brother. It's a home game, no matter what the odds are, which I don't know what the over-under is, Jake. I'm not sure if you do. I know Tim would have found out, but Tim not with us right now. He is with us today, just not on the broadcast. But here's a look here, and we'll move on from this Raven County game. Here are Gunner Stockton's stats. Oh, I had it right here from the 3 games that he's had against Union from freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. So freshman year, 279 pass yards, 2 touchdown passes, 4 rushing touchdowns as a freshman against Union. Sophomore year, and he did throw a pick in that game. Sophomore year, 250 pass yards, 2 pass touchdowns, another interception, 5 rushing touchdowns 2 years ago. Last year, 380 pass yards, 6 pass touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 120 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, which totals to 21 total touchdowns, over 1,200 yards total, and 2 interceptions against Union County in 3 games. 3 games. So, I mean, he's getting better. He's getting better.
I'm trying to find the over-under for that game.
Yeah, I'll keep talking here for a second. Again, 21 total touchdowns for Gunner Stockton against Union in 3 years, 2 interceptions, nearly 1,300 total yards. Raven, a 31.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
Jeez. Jeez.
And that, I mean, I will say this. I think Union County, a very young team, but this is the best Raven County team that I've seen in 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
31 and a half. I mean, they cover that.
This Raven County team, I know we've been talking about them for a while to begin the show, but this Raven County team deserves it. They were a good football team last year, but they are a great football team this year. I mean, DJ, you also cover 2A. Is there another team in 2A that rivals the firepower on offense that Raven County has?
Actually, last year, not Hurd County, Rayburn was the one that put Harrison County out of the playoffs in the first round. I believe Gunner had 2 rushing touchdowns, beat them, I think, 30-15. Y'all say that they're better this year, but I believe Harrison County's also better this year. Out of the teams I've seen play, and of what I've seen of them last year, and y'all say they've got even better, I would have to say, of course, my guys at Harrison, just because this year they've really not had any hiccups beside at Manchester. But again, like Chris was saying, it's hard to beat somebody that can go out and pinpoint his passes at any given time. Whether it's a 5-yard out or a post over the middle. It's hard to beat an athlete with a great arm, great vision, and so I really don't think there's anybody that can compete at the same level. But again, if there's anybody close, I would either have to go Harrison County or Callaway if they're all healthy.
DJ, I know this is this year. Last year was last year, and I have no idea. That's why I'm asking this. What was the score of that Raven Harrison County game?
I'm pretty sure it was 30-15 last year. Which last year I think it was 21-0 at halftime. Raven jumped up 21-0. Harrison County scored 2 late. So last year, Raven was definitely the better team. They showed it. It was easily. It was hard to guard. They had 2 tall, lanky wide receivers on the outside that it was hard for Harrison County's DBs to match up with. So I feel like, you said they had a good tight end this year. So I feel like definitely Harrison County struggled more in the pass game, like they always have. So I feel like that's why I was saying that I don't know if they can stand up to that same level of competitiveness, but who knows?
Well,
Chris,
you also know the weather around us, Jake.
Oh, yeah.
It is supposed to rain in this game. 69% chance of rain, thunderstorms potentially. We'll see. I'm curious to see if it's a, hey, Gunner, run the ball today, or hey, Gunner, let's prove that you can do it in all conditions. Let's toss the rock in a rainstorm.
Chris, another really good team in 2A that isn't getting any love. Fannin County is a very good team in 2A. They had the one loss to Sonoraville, but in the region, no one has even come close. I think their defense has given up 8 points a game, and most of those points have come against when their freshmen are out there. So tell us about this Fannin County team. And Mitch, we said this Raven team is better than the Raven team that was on the field last year. I know Fannin lost a lot, but this Fannin team is looking just as good, if not better, than the Fannin team that was out there last year.
Yeah, I was actually curious about that. I wanted to talk with the head Rebel, Chad Cheatham, about that. And we'll probably do that after the season. I don't want to, he'll probably give me a cliche response now. But if I ask him on air after the season, he'll be up front with me. But yeah, I mean, Fannin County, they graduated 26 last year. 26 guys. And not to say that all 26 got significant playing time, but I would venture to say at least 20 of those guys played some quality minutes. Senior quarterback Luke Holloway. I mean, there's just too many to name. Jalen Ingram, Kahutta Hyde, to name just a few of those guys that were truly dominant. Then they come into this year. They lose their senior quarterback, Luke Holloway, who was phenomenal last year. And it's a toss-up. Three quarterbacks are in a quarterback competition this offseason, one being a running back by the name of Seth Reese, who eventually beats out David Mashburn for the job. And David Mashburn was content and happy, helping out this team in other ways. Now he's a wide receiver and contributing on offense too. He's just a junior. So next year, David will be the quarterback for Fannin County. But Seth Reese has taken over at the helm. He looks great. As you said, 7 wins, 1 loss, undefeated in region play, 4-0. I don't even know what to say. They ran the ball. They're toying with defenses. You said they have a great defense. They're toying with defenses. It depends on the week. They can throw for 250, run for 130, or they can run for 367 like they did last week against Chattooga. They won 42-7 in the region championship, 42-7, and 367 rush yards, 6 touchdowns all on the ground. They threw 5 passes in that game, held Chattooga's offense to 7 points. I don't even know. I mean,
they're scoring almost 35 points per game on average. I mean, just crazy. And to think with what they lost that last year that they're able to do this, what they're doing this year. I mean, there's not a team in the region. I know people thought Chattooga was going to be able to give them a game, but Chattooga, not even close. Dade County, not even going to be close. Everybody picked Pepperell to be the region champs. Game not even close. What else does Fannin County have to do to get some love? And finally, they are in the top 10 in Max Prep's standings in 2A. So that bodes well for them. I think they are 7th, but right behind Thomasville and Raven County. So that finally they're getting some love. I know Cheatham and his boys were kind of fired up that we're 8 games into this season, and they haven't been given any love in the ratings or in the polls or anything.
Yeah, it's been unreal. They finally got some offensive line love too, as they got the offensive line of the week according to Georgia Football Daily. That's the name of the website. Is that correct, RJ?
Yeah, Georgia High School Football,
High School Football Daily. Yeah, and they got the offensive line of the week, which is big, 367 rush yards. Now, I'm not going to say for sure that this team is stacked up better than last year's Fannin County Rebel football team. I'm not saying they're not either, but I'm saying in terms of strictly football and how, the weather changes, it gets colder, how the playoff, scene changes, the game in the playoffs changes. You got to be a running football team in the playoffs. I like this year's team better down the stretch to make it further in the state playoffs than last year's, simply because Seth Reese at quarterback, he can run the football, he can throw the football, he can do both at once. I mean, it doesn't matter. They have a great defense. Andrew Waldrop had a great game. I know that Tim would love to have this guy shouted out. Andrew Waldrop, 9 tackles last week, 2 tackles for loss. Logan Long plays both sides of the line, offensive tackle, defensive end, and he had 8 tackles, 2 tackles for loss in that win. A big night for him. They've got players all over the field. And I think the difference between this year's Fannin County Rebel football team and last year's Fannin County Rebel football team is last year they knew they were good, but they didn't know how to continue to be good. They did do it, but they never had anything to build off of and say, hey, we should expect greatness every week, every game. This year's team, they expect it. They go out there thinking, hey, we are going to win by 30-plus points and beat any team that's in our way. And this week, they have kind of a pitfall game. They take on a 1-8 Coosa football program. And I think even if Fannin's not at their best, they win this game, but they need to go out here. They still need to wax them. They need to put up 42-plus, which more than capable of doing. But don't underestimate, don't overlook an offense performance, because now you're getting down to the nitty-gritty. You're nearing the playoffs. Yeah, you're a 7-win program, 7-1, but now's the time to play your best football. Let's see 63 up on the scoreboard. If Cheatham will allow that.
Yeah, true. This Coosa team's a down in a down year, so they should definitely be able to walk all over them. But Chris, thanks for the insight. We're gonna take a quick break. You're free to go. Whatever you need to do. I know you're a busy man. DJ, when we come back, we'll start with you, and then RJ will get to you. Chris, once again, thanks, man.
Hey, always. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate you guys. Good to see you, DJ and RJ. I like that. DJ, RJ. Appreciate you guys. Keep up the great work, guys.
For sure, you too.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back.
At Circuit World, we offer a wide selection of major appliances, name brands like Whirlpool, LG, Frigidaire, and more. Looking for furniture? Come by and browse our showroom or check out the Endless Aisle, a touchscreen kiosk with thousands of options. Need electronics, gaming computers, laptops, desktops, tablets? We have it all. OLED or QLED, 4K or high def. We have the selection to get you the TV of your dreams. And don't forget, at Circuit World, your credit is always good. So ask about our convenient payment options and 120 days, same as cash. Come see us today at one of our 5 area locations.
It's an opportunity you can't miss. Days Chevrolet in Jasper is stepping up and paying top dollar for your trade-in. Any make, any model. Days wants it, and we're paying top dollar to get it. So, what'll you do with all that cash? Shop for your new Chevy at DaysChevroletJasper.com. New vehicles are arriving weekly, or shop from our great selection of pre-owned inventory. Don't delay. Come get cash for your vehicle today at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Days Chevrolet. Days gets it done.
Find new roads.
Hey girl, back so soon?
Yeah.
Third time this morning.
Feeling too familiar with the bathroom these days? It's not just you.
Hey girl, look who made it 15 minutes.
At Erlanger Urology, we make it easy to talk about overactive bladder and treatments that work.
Hey girl, you not coming in?
No, I'm good.
Well, okay. I'll be here, because I'm stuck.
Learn more at itsnotjustyou.com. Erlanger Urology.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Welcome back to the North Georgia edition of the Friday Night Press Box presented by Team FYN Sports. DJ, we've had a lot of 2A talk. Let's continue. Haralson County on a bye this week, but they took care of business last week in a game that a lot of people thought was going to be much closer than the final score showed.
Yes, of course. And me, I was one of those believers too. I thought that was going to be a hard-fought, old-fashioned, run down each other's throat football game. Haralson County ended up winning it, 21-0. Kept them to advance 3-0 region play. It really just started off with the same thing Haralson County's defense has been doing all year, getting early turnovers and the offense taking it and scoring it. Hart County had a chance to answer early after Haralson County scored, and quarterback kind of went down the left side, kind of was holding the ball a little wimbly, and the defense of Haralson County knocked it out, and it was able to recover it inside of Hart County's territory. Looking at that game, the only thing I could say was, wow, Hart County was definitely a lot better team than what they played like. I felt at times they were sloppy. It felt at times like they was discombobulated by the crowd of Haralson County. Coach Peavy did say that was probably the best atmosphere that they had played in all season. Hart County had a great crowd, great student section. It was homecoming. But looking into that region, you got Haralson County, who now stands at 8-1, 3-0 in region play. If Haralson County loses to Bremen next week, after their bye week, it would set up a 3-way tie for first. But I feel Haralson County would, of course, take that number 1 nod. Only way to not win the region is if they lose to Bremen and Callaway loses to Temple or Hart County, Bremen would then win the region. For Callaway's standpoint, before I go to that, my player of the week this week was Clay High for Haralson County. Everybody knows him as a rusher, a great quarterback. Man had 18 tackles on defense, 4 for loss, 1 forced fumble, and then had 3 rushing touchdowns and 131 rushing yards to, go on top of that. It's a lot of people are seeing him as a quarterback and somebody that runs the ball. They can throw it a little bit, but nobody sees what he contributes on the defensive side of the ball. He's up there number 2 in the tackles on Haralson County side. And like I said, coming off a big game, and he had 18 tackles. And Now looking forward to what people will think will be the number 2 team in the region, which will be Callaway. Callaway stands at 5-2, 1-1 in region play. They kind of control their own destiny with the home field advantage here. They they're heavily favored to win against Temple and Hurd. A loss would allow either Bremen or Hurd to slip into that number 2 spot. Looking forward to the 3 and 4 spot is kind of really a mashup. A lot of people think the game of this week, which will be Bremen and Hurd, will tell that 3 and 4 spot, which will be either Hurd County or Bremen. A lot of people I think are favoring Hurd County, but to me, I watched Bremen versus Darlington. Bremen's a good program. For Hurd County, they're 4-4, 1-1 on the year, 1-1 in region play. If they win tomorrow and then beat Callaway, they could finish as high as 2, which would solidify a home field advantage. With a loss, it would likely that they would be heading to Blue Ridge to face Fannin County in week 1. Bremen is kind of the same thing. They're 5-3, 1-1 in region play. They still have a shot at the regional title with a win tomorrow, and then next Friday, if they beat Harris County, and then they need help from either Temple or Hurd to beat Callaway. Temple plays Hurd tonight, and then Callaway plays. Temple plays Callaway tonight, and then Hurd plays Callaway the last week of the season. So if Temple or Hurd can knock off Callaway, and then Bremen beat Harrison County and win Friday, Bremen could end up regional champs. The dark horse is Temple. Temple 1-6, 0-3 in regional play. If Temple pulls off a huge upset versus Callaway, and I mean a huge upset, and they would have to jump on board the Hurd County Brave train and hope that Hurd County could also beat Callaway. And that would solidify them as the 4th spot and would send Callaway, which is the defending state championship, home. Looking towards for the playoff picture, you have this is the computer projections as of right now. You got Hurd to host Pepperell in the first round, Callaway to host Dade County. Hurd, they have Hurd solidifying that 3rd spot and going to Chattooga, and then Bremen with the 4th spot going to Fannin County.
What has happened to Callaway? How have they take such a large step back from state champions to where they are right now? I mean, I think Max Preps has them at 15 and 2A.
Yeah, you got Harrison County's number 4. You got Callaway at 15, Hurd at 29, and Bremen at 21. Which Callaway, what I noticed, I've watched a lot of film on them from last year to this year. I talked to a lot of coaches that was over there. I talked to a lot of people that have been around that program for a while, and all of them summed it up to pretty much they're all young, which they are very young. The quarterback's young. Their whole offensive side of the ball is young. But again, when you have that kind of a caliber team with that much experience behind their belt of continuous being in the playoff, continuous being really good, I feel like being young, it can only go so far in that aspect. But from what I noticed, they just do too many mistakes. They shoot themselves in the foot a lot. Harrison County, they had 4 turnovers in the first quarter. And to be a really good ball team, you can't do that against anybody, really. It's like, Coach Peavy at Harrison County, he always told me when I played there, he always said, show me a team that loses in the turnover column that wins big on the scoreboard. And because you don't really ever see it. You don't see a team that loses the turnover column win the game that much. But yeah, I mean, that program's a great program. I just feel that if they can cut down the mistakes they're having, cut down and boost their how would I put that? their esteem, their self-esteem to play. Because one thing that I noticed that I've never noticed in a Callaway team is they got down and they put their head down. It was like, oh, we're about to get beat, and I've never seen that in a Callaway team. So I feel like, that would come with young guys. Young guys ain't used to
Yeah.
getting beat, like especially coming from a winning program. So if they can knock all those off, I feel like they're right up there with some of the best teams in 2A.
Yeah. I think 2A is just, loaded this year. Haralson County, way better than a lot of people thought they were going to be. Fannin County, way better than a lot of people thought they were going to be. Obviously, Raven better than they were last year. I just think 2A is completely loaded. RJ, let's switch gears and go from 2A go from Blue Ridge and 2A over to Pickens County. I know Pickens County was off last week. DJ, great insight. Appreciate it, buddy. We'll have you on next week.
Yes, sir.
RJ, Pickens County was off last week. Pickens County I don't think they have they're not a playoff team this year since that loss 2 weeks ago, right?
No, they still got a shot. They've got
They do.
they've got 2 games left. They got one against Heritage tomorrow. At Heritage, it's going to be senior night at Heritage. Heritage still has to play Cedartown. So if Pickens can get by Heritage, that'll give Heritage their second region loss. And then Cedartown against Heritage next week. You got to think Cedartown's going to win that one. So that'll give Heritage 3 region losses. Cedartown's got Central tomorrow. So you got to think Cedartown's probably going to win that one. So that'll be 3 region losses for Central. Northwest probably going to get by Ridgeland tomorrow.
I think we might have lost RJ. He warned us earlier that he might lose power. Weather must be getting bad in Pickens County, but I'm sure he'll be back with us in a minute. We're gonna switch gears and talk about Gilmer and West Hall. Gilmer finally got their first region win of the Paul Standard era, as they pulled it out of their butts at the final seconds there at the end of that game. They won 26-21. They scored the go-ahead touchdown with less than a minute left in the game, or right at a minute left in the game, and then gave the ball back to West Hall. West Hall had the opportunity to win the football game, and they threw a Hail Mary pass, which was caught and pretty much was going to win. Well, did win the ball game because there was no time left. Won the ball game for West Hall, but it was called back because of a holding penalty, and Gilmer to live to see another day. They stopped them on the last untimed down, last play of the game, and they were able to come away with a 26-21 victory, and it was just pandemonium in LJ for sure, as Gilmer moved to 3-5 and will host White County this week. White County needs to win this ball game as they're also 3-5 on the outside looking in of a playoff spot, but they are a 27.5 point favorite. White County kind of taking a step back this year, but they're still better than this young Gilmer team, according to the computers. Freshman quarterback Trip Nix for White County is going to be their leader, and he's going to take them. He's either going to get them into the playoffs or prevent them from getting into the playoffs. I mean, it all rides on how Trip Nix is able to play. When you've got a young quarterback, that's kind of how it goes. I mean, is he going to be able to take care of the football? Is he going to turn it over? He's 78 for 125 he does have over 1,000 passing yards, 1,174 this year. But when he doesn't have the ball, Silas Mulligan, White County's running back, has it. He's carried the ball 182 times for 773 yards. So just some players to watch out for White County. And if you do go to this ball game and you are a Bobcat fan, obviously you're going to look out for Will Kiker. Will Kiker rushed 102 yards on 9 carries. I think he did have a big 40 or 50-yard touchdown run that helped him get his yardage up. But just not 102 yards on 9 carries, pretty good work there. And then Brock Titus kind of been the workhorse for the Bobcats this year. He ran the ball 23 times for 101 yards. Also, if you're Gilmer, you need Seth Darling to play his best football game that he's played all year this year against White County if you're going to win this game. Gilmer finally, like I said, finally got that one region win, but that may be the only region win they get this year. They're in a stout region over there, but maybe, who knows? Maybe they're able to come away with a victory over White County. We're going to try to get RJ back in here. Let's take a quick break and see if we can get him back in. This is Jake West, the North Georgia edition of the Friday Night Press Box presented by Team FYN Sports.
At Circuit World, we offer a wide selection of major appliances, name brands like Whirlpool, LG, Frigidaire, and more. Looking for furniture? Come by and browse our showroom or check out the endless aisle, a touchscreen kiosk with thousands of options. Need electronics, gaming computers, laptops, desktops, tablets? We have it all. OLED or QLED, 4K or high def. We have the selection to get you the TV of your dreams. And don't forget, at Circuit World, your credit is always good. So ask about our convenient payment options and 120 days, same as cash. Come see us today at one of our 5 area locations.
It's an opportunity you can't miss. Days Chevrolet in Jasper is stepping up and paying top dollar for your trade-in. Any make, any model. Days wants it, and we're paying top dollar to get it. So, what'll you do with all that cash? Shop for your new Chevy at DaysChevroletJasper.com. New vehicles are arriving weekly, or shop from our great selection of pre-owned inventory. Don't delay. Come get cash for your vehicle today at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Days Chevrolet. Days gets it done.
Find new roads.
Hey, girl. Back so soon?
Yeah.
Third time this morning.
Feeling too familiar with the bathroom these days? It's not just you.
Hey, girl. Look who made it 15 minutes.
At Erlanger Urology, we make it easy to talk about overactive bladder and treatments that work.
Hey, girl. You not coming in?
No, I'm good.
Well, okay. I'll be here because I'm stuck.
Learn more at itsnotjustyou.com. Erlanger Urology.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Welcome back to the North Georgia edition of the Friday Night Press Box presented by Team FYN Sports. Jake West and Caleb Tallman. I think RJ might be joining us, but we're going to talk a little bit about Pickens. RJ, can you hear us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think RJ's internet is a little out, but as he was saying before he got cut off, Pickens has got a big ball game this week against a good 5-2 Heritage team. Caleb, if you can find the line on that one for us, I think both these teams match up very well against each other. Heritage coming off of a win over LFO last week 31-0 win, but they do have 2 losses on their record against Darlington, a non-region loss, and then a region loss um, against a team from Tunnel Hill, Northwest Whitfield. So that's, Northwest Whitfield, pretty good football team, but that was a winnable game, 22-15. They lost that one. In Region 7 AAA, Heritage is second. So this would obviously be a big win if Pickens is able to pull off the upset. And I'm going to say it is an upset. Pickens, I know they're coming off a bye, but 2 weeks ago they played a game that they definitely should have won, especially if they were going to be a playoff team. I mean, they should have won that game pretty handily, I think, and I think a lot of Pickens fans thought that going into it against Central, where they lost 20-17. If Pickens wins that ball game, then they are sitting in the driver's seat for that final region seed to get into the playoffs. Now things get a little bit sketchy of whether they're going to be able to get in. I mean, they've definitely got to beat Heritage this week, and then they've got to beat Northwest Whitfield the week after that. So it's things not going to go easy for Pickens in order for them to get into the playoffs. We do have a sit down with head coach Grant Myers every week. Pickens Power half hour I think it comes out on Tuesdays, Caleb.
Third time's a charm, I hope.
All right. Hey, thanks, RJ. RJ, tell us. We talked a little about Pickens, what they've done this season. What do they need to do to win this ball game? Because this is a must win for them.
Yeah, they've got to have it. If you ask Coach Grant Myers, you hear him say that they need to be more disciplined during games. They have some tendency to get undisciplined at times and cost them some precious downs and trying to get off the field on defense and everything. And they've got to limit penalties and limit mistakes as well. And they've got to take advantage of some mistakes that Heritage might come up with. So it's going to be interesting to see because in the short time that they've played Heritage in the last several years, they don't have that much success at Heritage. Maybe 1 or 2 wins, if that, at Heritage. So it's gonna be a tough environment. Like I said before we got cut off, it's senior night there at Heritage, so that's just going to be another factor for Heritage to stay in second place because they've already got the loss to Northwest, and Northwest with 2 games left, Northwest is looking dead at that 2 seed as well. So it's going to be a big ball game, biggest ball game of the region. So no doubt, Pickens still has a shot to get into the playoffs. Maybe sneak into that 2 seed, but looking more at that 3 seed if they win out, which is going to be a tough task, seeing as how both of their remaining games are on the road.
Yeah, what do you think? Obviously, they're a 2.5-point favorite heading into this one, so that game's going to go either way. But what do you think their chances are of getting that game against Whitfield at the very end of the year? I mean, obviously, this one's a toss-up, but is Whitfield going to be favored in that Pickens matchup?
I would think so. I think Northwest would be favored, especially with it being there and the way they're coming in and playing. Probably coming off a win against Rizlin this week. I mean, like we said, you never know with stuff, but more than likely Northwest is going to be coming off a win against Rizlin, so it's probably going to be senior night there as well. So Pickens is probably going to be playing back-to-back senior nights against teams. But that Northwest team likes to sling it around a lot, and notoriously they've had a bigger back to counter all the throwing that they do, just to mix it up every once in a while. So we'll see what happens there. But right now we got to focus on Heritage and trying to maybe sneak into the playoffs.
What's your prediction this week for this Heritage Pickens game?
It's going to be close. It's probably going to come down to one of the last possessions like it did the other week against Central. That was a tough loss against Central. I think Pickens should have had that. I think Pickens was the better team throughout the ball game. They just some costly mistakes at the end cost them that ball game. So we'll have to see if Pickens can limit mistakes, and if they do, I think they come out with a close, maybe 7-10 point win.
Pickens is looked up the ratings for you, Jake. The Massey ratings have Pickens as a 2.5 point favorite this game, even though they are on the road. And then you were just asking about next week's game against Northwest Whitfield. And right now, the Massey ratings have Northwest Whitfield as a 19.5 point favorite, which that can change depending on how both teams do this week. And then just to give you an idea, Heritage, and you might be able to speak to this a little bit, RJ. They're a ground team. They've only thrown the ball. They only throw the ball about 10 times per game. And their junior quarterback, Caden Swope, he has half the rushing yards for the year too. Between him and their running back, Paxton McCrary, they both have close to 500 rushing yards on the year this year. So it's going to be important for Pickens, especially on the road, to be able to limit that rushing attack. Swope hasn't been terrible through the air this year. He does take care of the ball, only 3 interceptions through 7 games that they have on him stats-wise. But he has a below 50% completion percentage. So if Pickens can force them into some 3rd and longs, that's a situation where you're confident in being able to get off the field.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of like when they played Commerce earlier in the year. You want to get them off schedule and behind the sticks, force them to throw in the throwing situations to get them off their game. But I watched a little bit of Heritage's game against Darlington earlier in the year, and they played Darlington fairly well in the first half. But then Darlington kind of took over a little bit. But Heritage's run game is always been tough. They've had more of a passing game the last couple of years, but obviously they've kind of had to shift a little bit in their offensive game plan, and it's worked well for them so far. So it'll be up to the Dragons, and it'll be up to the defensive line to get pressure on the offensive line of the Generals. Heritage normally has some bigger kids on the offensive line, so it'll be a matchup to watch with that D line against the O line.
Yeah, and one of the guys that they're going to have to block up, your offense is going to have to block up Connor Swearingen. He's got second leading tackler with 45 total tackles, but he also has 12 tackles for loss. So that's a guy definitely going to want to be watching out for him on Friday night.
Yeah, Heritage notoriously in the last couple of years likes to send a lot of blitzes, a lot of extra guys, like a six-man blitz, and go off of that. So we'll see how they do with that, if they keep on doing that, if they change it up a bit. And I know we've talked a little bit the last couple of weeks about kickers. They've got a really good kicker as well, and Anderson Britton. He's Army commit. He's a really good kicker the last couple of years for Heritage. So we'll see how he factors in it. It's like Chris was talking about earlier. It's going to be cold, a little bit of rain, finally some football weather, I guess you'd call it. So we'll see how that impacts both offenses. It could have a major factor in who wins this ball game.
Yeah, I mean, and turnovers as well. You might have some of those picking stats, but Heritage has forced 15 turnovers. They're forcing 2 turnovers a game. So, especially on a cold, wet night, that could really factor in.
Yeah, you're gonna have to protect the ball both ends when you're getting tackled if you're on offense, and try and strip it out if you're on defense as best you can. So it'll be, I think whoever wins the turnover battle probably wins the ball game.
That's a good bet.
Yeah, it's going to definitely, like you said, RJ, it's going to be football weather on Friday night, and we're all excited for it. I think Appreciate your insight, RJ. I know everybody will be pulling for the Dragons on Friday night, and hopefully they can squeak into the playoffs. Grant Myers has done a great job with that football team, and he's got his guys buying into what he's selling. Caleb and RJ, thank you. This has been the North Georgia edition of the Friday Night Press Box presented by Team FYN Sports.